Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister of Environment and Parks has repeatedly stated that her decision impacting changes to land use across Alberta, including the Castle Parks, Porcupine Hills and Livingstone areas, were based on science, as will decisions about the Bighorn area. Stakeholders have raised concern that the data being used by the Minister is taken from out-of-country studies which do not accurately capture the geography of Alberta. And to the Minister, what relevant Alberta-based scientific data is being used to drive these decisions, and will it be provided to the public?
The Honourable Minister of Parks and the Environment.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. The question is somewhere in the neighbourhood of about 6 or 7 months late, because the scientific studies that underpinned some of the analysis around the headwaters protection that we brought in for the Castle region was released by the Chief Scientist in December and has been available publicly since that time, Mr. Speaker.
First supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that it seems as though decisions made by the government under the guise of science are really being driven by ideology, influenced by foreign-funded environmental groups, as opposed to members of the public who responsibly enjoy the backcountry, and given these environmental groups are pushing for the systematic removal of human activity from Alberta's backcountry, again to the Minister, when will you personally meet with the general public in order to capture a balanced vision of what kind of backcountry access Albertans want?
Honourable Minister.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, the dozens of scientists who contributed to that analysis that underpinned many of our decisions in the Castle area will be pleased to learn that the folks across the way dismiss their life's work as somehow being tainted or ideological, Mr. Speaker. I'll be clipping this Hansard and sending it to all of them, Mr. Speaker, because it is just beyond the pale to undermine our professionals in this province who contribute every day to what we know about science, what we know about ecology, what we know about the world around us. It's not surprising at all, given these folks also do not.
Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Given that the Minister seems to be playing favourites again by promoting certain types of camping while restricting access for other types of camping, and given that motorized access provides an excellent opportunity for families to include everyone in the backcountry experience, including those who may have physical disabilities or mobility issues, again to the Minister, will the Minister commit to reviewing her plans and decisions to provide fairness and balance for all types of backcountry use?
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. And you know, there are ecological limits, and certainly we've invested in our campgrounds and our trails and so on to manage those limits. But there are also limits with respect to the patience of the neighbours, Mr. Speaker. And in particular, ranchers in Livingstone and the Porcupine Hills came to me and said, please, could you do some planning in these areas? And we did that. We delivered for those Conservative constituents, Mr. Speaker. On this side of the House, we listen to communities when they ask us to do something, and then we take action.